Chapter 1: The Last Stand. The alarms blared throughout the Starship Unity as Captain Arya Vance sprinted towards the bridge. Her heart pounded in her chest, the adrenaline coursing through her veins. She burst onto the bridge, her eyes immediately drawn to the massive view screen displaying the looming threat ahead. "Status report," Arya demanded, taking her seat in the captain's chair. "The Zorgon fleet has us surrounded, Captain," Lieutenant Zara Rowe replied, her fingers flying across the tactical console. "They're charging weapons." Arya gritted her teeth. The Zorgons, a technologically advanced alien race, had been relentlessly pursuing the Unity for weeks. As a group of rebels fighting against the oppressive Galactic Federation, the crew of the Unity had become a thorn in the side of both the Federation and the Zorgons. "Evasive maneuvers," Arya ordered. "Divert all power to shields." The Unity banked hard to starboard as the first volley of Zorgon laser fire streaked past the ship's hull. The deck shuddered beneath their feet as the shields absorbed the impact of the near misses. "Shields at 70%, Zara reported, her voice strained. Arya's mind raced, searching for a way out of their predicament. The Unity was hopelessly outmatched, but surrender was not an option. They had to find a way to escape or risk being captured and executed by the Zorgons. Suddenly, an idea formed in Arya's mind. It was risky, but it might just give them the chance they needed. "Reroute power from the weapon systems to the warp drive," Arya commanded. "We're going to make a jump." Navigator Finn Decker spun around in his chair, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Captain, we're too close to the Zorgon ships. If we jump now, we could end up inside one of them." Arya met Finn's gaze, her determination unwavering. "It's our only chance. We have to take it." Finn hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Aye, Captain, plotting a course now." The Unity shook violently as another barrage of Zorgon fire impacted the shields. Sparks erupted from overloaded consoles, and the acrid smell of burnt circuitry filled the air. "Shields at 30%, Zara shouted over the chaos. "We can't take much more of this." Arya leaned forward in her chair, her eyes locked on the view screen. "Finn, engage the warp drive on my mark." The seconds ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. The Zorgon ships loomed closer, their weapons glowing with deadly intent. "Mark," Arya yelled. Finn slammed his hand down on the warp drive controls, and the Unity lurched forward. The stars on the view screen stretched into brilliant streaks of light as the ship accelerated to impossible speeds. For a moment, Arya dared to hope that they had escaped. But then, the Unity shuddered violently, and a blinding flash of light filled the bridge. Arya felt herself being thrown from her chair as the ship tumbled end over end, the warp field collapsing around them. And then, darkness claimed her. Chapter 2: Adrift. Arya awoke to the sound of klaxons and the acrid smell of smoke. Her head throbbed, and she could feel the sticky warmth of blood on her forehead. Slowly, she pushed herself up from the deck, her vision swimming as she tried to orient herself. The bridge was in chaos. Consoles sparked and sputtered, and the emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow over everything. Arya could see her crew scattered about, some moving slowly and others ominously still. "Report," Arya croaked, her voice hoarse. Zara staggered to her feet, clutching her arm. "We're adrift, Captain. The warp drive is offline, and we have no idea where we are." Arya nodded, wincing as the movement sent a spike of pain through her head. "Casualties?" "Unknown," Zara replied, "but it looks like we took a beating." Arya's heart sank as she surveyed the damage. The Unity had been their home, their sanctuary in the fight against the Federation and the Zorgons. Now, it was a crippled shell, lost in the vastness of space. "Finn, see if you can get our bearings," Arya ordered. "Zara, check on the crew and assess the damage. We need to know what we're dealing with." As her crew set to work, Arya pulled herself into the captain's chair. She stared at the view screen, now showing nothing but an endless expanse of stars. They had escaped the Zorgons, but at what cost? Suddenly, the ship shuddered, and the lights flickered. Arya gripped the armrests of her chair, her heart racing. "What was that?" she demanded. Finn's eyes widened as he checked his console. "Captain, we're caught in some kind of gravitational anomaly. It's pulling us in." Arya's mind raced. They were in no condition to fight against an unknown force, but they couldn't just sit there and let it consume them. "Divert all remaining power to the engines," Arya commanded. "We need to break free." The Unity groaned and shuddered as the engine strained against the inexorable pull of the anomaly. Arya watched the view screen, her heart in her throat, as the stars stretched and distorted around them. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the shuddering stopped. The Unity drifted free, the anomaly receding behind them. Arya let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Status? Finn checked his readouts. We're clear, Captain, but our power reserves are nearly depleted. We won't be able to sustain life support for much longer. Arya closed her eyes, the weight of their situation settling heavily on her shoulders. They were lost, damaged, and running out of time, but she was the captain, and it was her job to find a way out of this. Zara, prioritize repairs to life support and the warp drive, Arya said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her gut. Finn, scan for any nearby planets or stations where we might be able to make repairs. As her crew set to work, Arya stared out at the stars, a flicker of hope still burning within her. They were the Starbound Renegades, fighters against oppression and injustice. They had faced impossible odds before and come out on top. They would find a way. They had to. Chapter 3, Sanctuary. The crew of the Unity worked tirelessly to repair the damaged systems, their hearts heavy with the loss of their fallen comrades. Arya moved among them, offering words of encouragement and lending a hand wherever she could. Despite the dire circumstances, she knew they couldn't afford to lose hope. Captain, I think I've found something, Finn called out from his console. Arya hurried over, her heart racing with anticipation. What is it? Finn pointed to a blinking light on the star map. There's a small planet nearby, just on the edge of our sensor range. It's not much, but it might have the resources we need to make repairs. Arya studied the readouts, weighing their options. The planet was uncharted and potentially hostile, but they had little choice. With life support failing and their power reserves nearly exhausted, they needed to act fast. Set a course, Arya ordered, and let's hope this planet is as friendly as it looks. As the Unity limped towards the mysterious world, Arya couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The stars seemed to whisper warnings, and the darkness of space felt more oppressive than ever. But there was no turning back now. The Unity shuddered as it entered the planet's atmosphere, its hull groaning under the strain. Arya gripped the armrests of her chair, bracing herself for impact. The ship hit the ground with a bone-jarring thud, skidding across the rocky terrain before finally coming to a stop. For a moment, there was only silence, broken by the hiss of escaping air and the crackle of damaged systems. Then, slowly, the crew began to stir. Arya unbuckled herself from her chair, wincing as she felt the bruises already forming on her body. Is everyone all right? She called out, her voice hoarse. One by one, her crew checked in, battered but alive. Arya felt a surge of relief, tempered by the knowledge that their ordeal was far from over. Zara, take a team and scout the area, Arya ordered. We need to know what we're dealing with here. As Zara and her team set out, Arya turned her attention to the ship. The Unity was in bad shape, but with some luck and a lot of hard work, they might be able to get her flying again. Hours turned into days as the crew labored to repair the damaged systems. They scavenged what they could from the surrounding area, using the planet's resources to patch the hull and recharge the power cells. But even as they worked, Arya couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Strange noises echoed in the night, and shadows seemed to move just beyond the edge of their vision. And then, on the third day, Zara returned from a scouting mission with news that chilled Arya to the bone. Captain, we're not alone here, Zara said, her face grim. There's a settlement nearby, but it's not like anything I've ever seen before. The buildings are ancient, and the people, they're not human. Arya's mind raced with possibilities. Had they stumbled upon some long-lost alien civilization? Or was this simply another threat to be faced in an already hostile universe? Before she could ponder further, a shout rang out from the edge of the camp. Arya turned to see a group of figures emerging from the shadows, their forms strange and otherworldly. The Unity crew reached for their weapons, ready to defend themselves. But as the figures drew closer, Arya saw something in their eyes that made her pause. They were not attackers, but refugees. Like the Unity crew, they had been cast adrift in the vastness of space, seeking shelter and a chance at survival. And in that moment, Arya knew what they had to do. The Starbound Renegades had always fought for unity, for the belief that all beings deserved a chance at freedom and hope. Perhaps this was their chance to put those beliefs into action, to forge an alliance with these strange new allies and stand together against the darkness of the universe. Arya stepped forward, her hand outstretched in a gesture of peace. "Welcome," she said, her voice ringing out clear and strong. "We are the Starbound Renegades, and we come in friendship." As the aliens regarded her with cautious eyes, Arya felt a flicker of hope stirring in her heart. They had survived the impossible, and now, perhaps, they had found a new purpose. Together, they would rebuild. Together, they would fight. And together, they would find their way home, no matter how long the journey might be. Chapter 4. Forging Alliances. As the alien refugees gathered around the Unity's crash site, Arya and her crew maintained a cautious stance, their weapons lowered but ready. The aliens were unlike any species they had encountered before, with elongated limbs, iridescent skin, and eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. One of the aliens, taller than the rest and adorned with intricate markings, stepped forward. It raised a slender hand, and a melodic voice emanated from its lips. "Greetings, travelers from the stars. I am Zephyr, leader of the Lumini. We mean you no harm." Arya lowered her weapon and took a step closer, her instincts telling her to trust this alien leader. "I am Captain Arya Vance of the Unity. We are the Starbound Renegades, fighting against the oppression of the Galactic Federation and the Zorgons. Our ship was badly damaged, and we seek refuge and resources to make repairs." Zephyr tilted its head, studying Arya with curiosity. "The Galactic Federation. We have heard whispers of their tyranny, even on our isolated world. We, too, have suffered at the hands of oppressors." Arya's heart swelled with empathy. "Then perhaps we have more in common than we realized. We could help each other, forge an alliance against those who would see us subjugated." Zephyr's eyes sparkled with interest. "An alliance? We have long remained hidden, but perhaps it is time for the Lumini to stand with others against the darkness. Come, let us discuss this further in our settlement." As the Lumini led the Unity crew to their ancient settlement, Arya marveled at the alien architecture, a seamless blend of organic and technological elements. Inside a grand chamber, Zephyr and Arya sat across from each other, their respective crews gathered around them. The Lumini possess advanced technology and knowledge of this sector. Zephyr explained, "We can help you repair your ship and provide you with valuable information to aid in your fight against the Federation and the Zorgons." Arya leaned forward, her eyes alight with possibility. "And in return, we can offer our skills and resources to help defend your world. Together, we can send a message to the oppressors that unity and freedom will always prevail." As the talks continued, the Unity crew and the Lumini began to work side by side, repairing the damaged ship and sharing knowledge. Finn and the Lumini engineers developed new technologies, while Zara and the Lumini scouts exchanged tactics and strategies. In the evenings, the two groups gathered around flickering fires, sharing stories of their pasts and their hopes for the future. Bonds of friendship and understanding grew, transcending the boundaries of species and culture. However, their newfound alliance was soon put to the test. A Zorgon scout ship, drawn by the energy signatures of the Unity and the Lumini settlement, descended from the sky, its weapons primed for attack. Arya and Zephyr rallied their forces, the Unity crew and the Lumini standing shoulder to shoulder against the common threat. The battle was fierce, but the combined strength of the Starbound Renegades and their new allies proved too much for the Zorgons. As the scout ship retreated, Arya turned to Zephyr, her face a mix of triumph and determination. "This is only the beginning," she said. "The road ahead will be long and perilous, but together we can forge a path to freedom and unity." Zephyr clasped Arya's hand, its voice resonating with resolve. "The Lumini stand with you, Captain Vance. Together we will be a light in the darkness, a beacon of hope for all those who yearn for a better future." And so the Starbound Renegades and the Lumini set forth their alliance, a shining example of what could be achieved when different beings put aside their differences and work towards a common goal. The journey ahead would be filled with challenges and sacrifices, but they would face them together, united in their pursuit of justice and freedom among the stars. Chapter 5. Trials of Trust. As the Unity soared through the star-speckled void, the newly forged alliance between the Starbound Renegades and the Lumini was put to the test. Arya and Zephyr spent long hours in the ship's command center, strategizing their next moves against the Galactic Federation and the Zorgons. However, not everyone on board was convinced of the Lumini's sincerity. Zara, the Unity's security chief, approached Arya with a concerned expression. "Captain, I know we need allies, but how can we be sure the Lumini aren't just using us for their own gain?" Arya met Zara's gaze, understanding her reservations. "I hear your concerns, Zara, but we have to trust in the bonds we've formed. The Lumini have proven themselves in battle and have shared their knowledge freely. We must give them the benefit of the doubt." Zara nodded, but the doubt lingered in her eyes. As she left the command center, she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. Meanwhile, in the ship's engineering bay, Finn and the Lumini engineers were working tirelessly to integrate the alien technology into the Unity's systems. The Lumini's advancements were unlike anything Finn had ever seen, and he marveled at their ingenuity. "This quantum reactor core is incredible," Finn exclaimed, examining the glowing device. "With this, we could boost the Unity's power tenfold." The Lumini engineer, a being named Solaris, smiled enigmatically. "Our technology is yours to use, as per our agreement. Together, we will be unstoppable." As the integration proceeded, strange occurrences began to plague the Unity. Systems would malfunction without explanation, and crew members reported seeing shadowy figures darting through the corridors. Arya and Zephyr worked tirelessly to uncover the cause, but the incidents only seemed to escalate. Tensions reached a breaking point when a critical system failure nearly sent the Unity plummeting into a nearby star. In the chaos, Zara caught a glimpse of a Lumini sabotaging the ship's controls. She quickly apprehended the alien, bringing them before Arya and Zephyr. "Explain yourself," Arya demanded, her voice thick with betrayal. "Why would you sabotage our ship?" The Lumini, its head bowed in shame, spoke in a trembling voice. "Forgive me, Captain. I was ordered by a faction within our people who believe we should not ally ourselves with outsiders. They fear that your war will bring destruction upon our world." Zephyr's face contorted with anger and sorrow. "I was unaware of this faction's existence. They do not speak for all Lumini. I will root out these dissenters and ensure they cannot jeopardize our alliance." Arya placed a hand on Zephyr's shoulder, her eyes filled with understanding. "We have all faced betrayal and fear, Zephyr. What matters is how we move forward. We must not let the actions of a few divide us." As Zephyr dealt with the dissenting faction, Arya and her crew worked to repair the damage caused by the sabotage. The incident had shaken their trust, but it had also strengthened their resolve. In a private moment, Zara approached Arya, her eyes downcast. "Captain, I owe you an apology. I let my suspicions cloud my judgment. The Lumini have proven their loyalty, and I should have trusted in your decision." Arya smiled, placing a reassuring hand on Zara's shoulder. "We all have our doubts, Zara. What matters is that we learn from them and grow stronger together." As the Unity continued its journey, the crew and the Lumini worked to mend the rifts caused by the sabotage. Trust was rebuilt, and the bonds between them grew even stronger. They knew that the road ahead would be filled with more trials and challenges, but they also knew that they could face them together, united in their fight for freedom and justice among the stars. Chapter 6. Shadows of Deception. The Unity glided through the inky darkness of space, its hull still bearing the scars of the recent sabotage. The crew and the Lumini worked tirelessly to repair the damage, determined to maintain the fragile trust they had rebuilt. Arya sat in her quarters, poring over the latest intelligence reports. The Galactic Federation's grip on the galaxy seemed to be tightening, and rumors of a powerful new weapon in development sent a chill down her spine. She knew they needed to act fast before it was too late. Suddenly, the ship's intercom crackled to life. "Captain, we're receiving a distress call from a nearby Lumini colony." Finn's voice echoed through the room. "They're under attack by Zorgon forces." Arya leaped to her feet, her heart pounding. "Set a course for the colony immediately. We can't let the Zorgons win." As the Unity raced towards the besieged colony, Zephyr joined Arya on the bridge. his face etched with worry. "I fear this attack may be a diversion," he said, his voice low. "The dissenting faction within the Lumini may be using this opportunity to strike from within." Arya nodded grimly. "We'll have to be on our guard, but we can't abandon the colony. We'll deal with the dissenters after we've ensured the safety of the Lumini." The Unity dropped out of hyperspace, the Lumini colony coming into view. Zorgon warships swarmed the planet, their weapons raining destruction upon the surface. Without hesitation, Arya ordered the Unity into battle, its own weapons blazing to life. As the battle raged, a small team led by Zara and Zephyr infiltrated the colony to evacuate the Lumini civilians. They fought their way through the chaos, the Zorgon's robotic soldiers relentless in their pursuit. Amidst the smoke and rubble, Zara noticed a group of Lumini, their faces hidden beneath dark hoods, slipping away from the battle. Her instincts screamed at her to follow, and she signaled to Zephyr to continue the evacuation without her. Stealthily, Zara trailed the hooded figures through the winding streets of the colony. They led her to a hidden chamber, where she overheard their hushed conversations. What she discovered chilled her to the bone. The dissenting faction had not only sabotaged the Unity, but had also been secretly collaborating with the Zorgons. They believed that by aiding in the downfall of the Galactic Federation, they could secure a place of power for themselves in the new order. Zara knew she had to warn Arya and the others, but as she turned to leave, she found herself face to face with the leader of the dissenters, a Lumini named Moros. "You should not have come here," Moros hissed, his eyes glinting with malice. "Now, you will pay the price for your interference." A fierce battle ensued, Zara's skills put to the ultimate test against Moros's cunning and advanced technology. She fought with everything she had, driven by the knowledge that the fate of the Unity and the galaxy hung in the balance. Just as Moros gained the upper hand, Zephyr burst into the chamber, having realized Zara's absence. Together, they managed to overpower Moros and his followers, securing them for questioning. With the colony evacuated and the dissenters in custody, the Unity limped back into space, the weight of the revelation heavy on the crew's shoulders. Arya called a meeting of the ship's leaders, her face grim. "We have uncovered a terrible truth today," she began, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "But we cannot let this betrayal destroy the Unity we have fought so hard to build. We must stand together, now more than ever, and face the challenges that lie ahead." Zephyr stepped forward, his eyes filled with determination. "The actions of a few do not define the Lumini as a whole. We will work to root out any remaining dissenters and ensure that our alliance remains strong." As the meeting adjourned, Arya couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The shadows of deception ran deep, and she knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty. But as she looked around at the faces of her crew and the Lumini who had fought beside them, she knew that they had the strength and the unity to prevail. Together, they would stand against the darkness and fight for a brighter future among the stars. Chapter 7. Forging Ahead. The Unity glided through the void of space, its scars a testament to the trials they had faced. Despite the betrayal they had uncovered, the crew and their Lumini allies remained steadfast in their determination to fight for a better future. Arya stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic map before her. The Galactic Federation's influence had spread like a malignant growth, choking the life out of countless worlds. She knew that their fight was far from over. Zephyr approached her, his presence a comforting anchor amidst the chaos. "We have received word from our scouts," he said, his voice low. "The Galactic Federation is mobilizing their forces. They are preparing for a massive offensive." Arya's heart sank, but she refused to let despair take hold. "Then we must be ready," she said, her voice steely with resolve. "We cannot let them win." As the Unity charted a course for the front lines, Arya called a meeting of the ship's leaders and their Lumini allies. They gathered in the briefing room, the air heavy with tension. "We stand on the precipice of a crucial moment," Arya began, her eyes sweeping the room. "The Galactic Federation believes that they can crush us beneath their heel, but we will show them the strength of our unity." Zara stepped forward, her face still bearing the bruises of her fight with Moros. "We have faced betrayal from within, but we cannot let that deter us. We must focus on the true enemy and stand together against their tyranny." The room erupted in a chorus of agreement, the resolve of the crew and the Lumini unwavering. They began to discuss strategies and plans, each member bringing their unique skills and knowledge to the table. As the meeting drew to a close, Arya felt a flicker of hope in her heart. They may have been battered and bruised, but they were far from broken. They had the strength and determination to forge ahead, no matter the odds. In the days that followed, the Unity and their Lumini allies threw themselves into preparations. They fortified their defenses, trained tirelessly, and reached out to other resistance groups scattered across the galaxy. Amidst the chaos, Arya found solace in the quiet moments she shared with Zephyr. They would often sit together in the observation deck, watching the stars drift by and sharing stories of their pasts. "I never thought I would find a place where I truly belonged," Arya confessed one evening, her voice soft. "But here, with this crew and with you, I feel like I have found a home." Zephyr smiled, his hand finding hers in the darkness. "You have given us all a sense of purpose, Arya. You have shown us that we can be more than just renegades and outcasts. We can be a force for change." As the Unity hurtled towards the front lines, Arya knew that the battles ahead would be the toughest they had ever faced. But she also knew that they had the strength and the unity to prevail. They were the Starbound Renegades, forged in the fires of adversity and united by a common cause. They would stand together, fight together, and forge a path to a brighter future among the stars. And as the first shots of the battle rang out, Arya stood tall on the bridge, her crew and her allies by her side. They were ready to face whatever the universe threw at them, for they had each other, and that was a bond that could never be broken. Chapter 8. The Battle Begins. The Unity emerged from hyperspace, the distant stars blurring into streaks of light as the ship decelerated. Arya stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the view screen, where a massive Galactic Federation fleet loomed ominously before them. The enemy ships were sleek and menacing, their hulls bristling with weapons. Arya felt a shiver run down her spine as she realized the sheer magnitude of the force they were up against, but she refused to let fear take hold. She turned to her crew, her voice steady and resolute. "This is it," she said, her words echoing through the bridge. "The moment we have been preparing for. The Galactic Federation thinks they can crush us, but we will show them the strength of our unity." The crew nodded, their faces set with determination. They had faced countless challenges together, and they would not falter now. Zephyr stood by Arya's side, his hand resting on the hilt of his energy blade. "We're with you, Arya," he said, his voice filled with unwavering loyalty. "To the end." Arya smiled, drawing strength from the support of her crew. She turned back to the view screen, her eyes narrowing as she studied the enemy fleet. "Zara, what's the status of our weapons systems?" she asked, her mind already racing with strategies and tactics. "All systems are online and fully charged," Zara replied, her fingers flying over the control panel. "We're ready to give them hell." Arya nodded, a fierce grin spreading across her face. "Then let's show them what the Starbound Renegades are made of." The Unity surged forward, its engines roaring as it charged towards the Galactic Federation fleet. The enemy ships opened fire, their weapons cutting through the void of space like scythes of destruction. But the Unity was ready. Its shields flared to life, absorbing the brunt of the assault as the ship wove through the barrage of laser fire. Arya gripped the armrests of her chair, her knuckles turning white as the ship shuddered beneath the onslaught. "Evasive maneuvers!" she shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "Return fire!" The Unity's weapons systems came to life, lancing out with beams of searing energy. The enemy ships scattered, their formation breaking as they sought to avoid the counterattack. But the Galactic Federation was not so easily deterred. They regrouped, their ships forming a tight defensive formation as they pressed their assault. Arya gritted her teeth, sweat beading on her brow as she fought to keep the Unity one step ahead of the enemy. The battle raged on. The void of space lit up with the flashes of weapons fire and the explosions of ships torn asunder. As the Unity weaved through the chaos, Arya caught sight of a Lumini ship, its sleek form darting through the enemy lines. It was Zara's ship, the Lumini rebels joining the fray to aid their human allies. Together, the The Unity and the Lumini ships fought as one, their unity a force to be reckoned with. They struck at the enemy's weak points, exploiting gaps in their defenses and sowing chaos in their ranks. But the Galactic Federation was relentless, their ships seeming to multiply with every passing moment. Arya knew that they could not win this battle through sheer force alone. She turned to her crew, her mind racing with a desperate plan. "We need to disrupt their command structure," she said, her voice urgent. "If we can take out their flagship, it will throw them into disarray." The crew exchanged glances, the weight of the task settling upon them, but they did not hesitate, their trust in Arya unwavering. "We're with you," Zephyr said, his voice filled with determination. "Let's end this." The Unity broke away from the battle, its engines straining as it pushed towards the heart of the enemy fleet. The Galactic Federation flagship loomed before them, its massive form bristling with weapons. Arya's heart pounded in her chest as she realized the enormity of the task before them. But she refused to let doubt take hold. They had come too far to falter now. As the Unity closed in on the flagship, the enemy's defenses intensified, a wall of laser fire and missiles threatening to tear the ship apart. But Arya's crew was ready, their skills honed through countless battles. Zara's fingers danced across the weapons controls, her aim true, as she targeted the flagship's critical systems. Zephyr manned the helm, his reflexes lightning fast as he wove the Unity through the storm of fire. And then, with a final desperate push, the Unity broke through the flagship's defenses. Its weapons flared to life, pouring all of their might into a single devastating barrage. The flagship shuddered beneath the assault, its shields flickering and failing. Explosions rippled across its hull, the once mighty vessel reduced to a shattered husk. A cheer went up from the Unity's crew as they watched the flagship's destruction, the Galactic Federation fleet falling into disarray without its guiding force. But their victory was short-lived. Even as they celebrated, Arya's console lit up with a flashing warning. A new wave of enemy ships had emerged from hyperspace, their numbers far greater than before. Arya felt a sinking sensation in the pit of her stomach as she realized the true scope of the battle they faced. The Galactic Federation's resources seemed limitless, their determination to crush the rebellion unwavering. But even in the face of this daunting challenge, Arya refused to give up hope. She looked around at her crew, at the faces of the people who had become her family. They had weathered countless storms together, and they would not falter now. "We keep fighting," she said, her voice filled with steely resolve. "We keep fighting for as long as it takes. For our friends, for our freedom, and for the future we believe in." The crew nodded, their eyes shining with the same fierce determination. They knew that the road ahead would be long and hard, but they would walk it together, united in their cause. And so, as the next wave of enemy ships bore down upon them, the Starbound Renegades stood tall, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They were a force forged in the crucible of adversity, their bonds unbreakable, their spirit indomitable. The battle had only just begun, but they would see it through to the end, no matter the cost. For they were the Starbound Renegades, and they would never surrender their dreams of a better tomorrow. Chapter 9. The Price of Freedom. The battle raged on, the Unity and the Lumini ships fighting tooth and nail against the seemingly endless waves of Galactic Federation forces. Arya stood on the bridge, her face etched with determination as she directed the ship's movements and coordinated with their allies. The enemy ships pressed in from all sides, their weapons pounding against the Unity's shields with relentless fury. Sparks flew from overloaded consoles, and the ship shuddered under the onslaught, but Arya refused to yield. "Reroute power to the forward shields," she shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "We have to hold the line." Zara worked frantically at her console, her fingers a blur as she diverted power and kept the ship's systems running. Zephyr, meanwhile, manned the weapons, his shots precise and deadly as he picked off enemy ships one by one. But even with their skill and determination, the tide of battle seemed to be turning against them. The Galactic Federation's numbers were too great, their ships too advanced. One by one, the Lumini ships fell, torn apart by the enemy's relentless assault. Arya felt a sense of despair creeping into her heart as she watched her allies fall. But she refused to let it take hold. They had to keep fighting. no matter the cost. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the Unity, throwing Arya from her feet. She scrambled back to her console, her eyes widening in horror as she saw the damage reports flooding in. "Our shields are down!" Zara cried, her voice tinged with panic. "We can't take much more of this." Arya's mind raced, searching for a solution. They couldn't win this battle through force alone. They needed something more, something that could turn the tide in their favor. And then it hit her. A desperate, crazy plan, but one that just might work. "Zara, prepare to overload the fusion drive," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "We're going to give the Galactic Federation a taste of their own medicine." Zara's eyes widened in shock, but she didn't hesitate. With a nod, she set to work, her fingers flying over the console as she prepared the ship's core for the dangerous maneuver. Arya turned to Zephyr, her eyes locking with his. "Get ready to jump to hyperspace on my signal," she said. "We're only going to have one shot at this." Zephyr nodded, his jaw clenched with determination. He knew the risks, but he trusted Arya with his life. The Unity shuddered and groaned as the fusion drive began to overload, the ship's core glowing with an eerie, pulsating light. The enemy ships, sensing their prey's weakness, closed in for the kill. But Arya was ready. With a final, defiant roar, she gave the signal. "Now!" Zara released the pent-up energy of the fusion drive, the ship's core erupting in a massive, blinding explosion. The shockwave tore through the enemy fleet, shattering ships and scattering debris across the void. And in that moment of chaos, the Unity jumped to hyperspace, vanishing from the battlefield in a flash of light. Silence fell over the bridge as the crew caught their breath, the adrenaline of battle slowly fading from their veins. Arya slumped back in her chair, her heart pounding with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. They had survived, but at what cost? Their allies were gone, their own ship battered and broken, and the Galactic Federation would not rest until they were found and destroyed. But even in the face of these grim realities, Arya refused to lose hope. They had fought for something greater than themselves, for a dream of freedom and a better tomorrow. And no matter the price, she knew that it was a fight worth waging. As the Unity drifted through the emptiness of hyperspace, Arya looked around at her crew, at the faces of the people who had become her family. They were battered and bruised, but unbroken. They had put everything on the line, risking their lives for the cause they believed in. And in that meant Arya knew that she would do the same, 1,000 times over. For they were the Starbound Renegades, and they would never stop fighting for what was right. No matter the odds, no matter the cost, they would stand tall and face the future head-on, united in their determination to forge a better world among the stars. And so, as the Unity charted a course for an uncertain future, Arya stood tall at the helm, her eyes fixed on the road ahead. The battle was far from over, but they would face it together, bound by the unbreakable bonds of friendship and the unwavering strength of their convictions. The price of freedom was high, but it was a price they were willing to pay. For in the end, it was the only way to ensure a brighter tomorrow for all who called the stars their home. Chapter 10. Shattered Bonds. The Unity drifted through the void of hyperspace, its hull battered and scarred from the harrowing escape. Arya sat in the captain's chair, her gaze fixed on the swirling vortex of light that surrounded them. The weight of their losses hung heavy in the air, a palpable presence that seemed to permeate every corner of the ship. Zara and Zephyr worked silently at their stations, their faces etched with grief and exhaustion. The rest of the crew moved about their duties with a somber dedication, each lost in their own thoughts and memories of the fallen. Arya knew that they couldn't afford to dwell on their losses for long. The Galactic Federation would be hot on their heels, and they needed to find a way to regroup and strike back before it was too late. She pushed herself to her feet, ignoring the aches and pains that shot through her body. "Zara, set a course for the Auriga system," she said, her voice steady and determined. "We need to find a place to lay low and make repairs." Zara nodded, her fingers already dancing across the console. "Aye, Captain. Auriga system it is." As the Unity changed course, Arya turned to face her crew. "I know we've been through hell," she said, her voice softening with empathy. "But we can't let our losses break us. We have to keep fighting, for the memory of those we've lost and for the future we're trying to build. Zephyr looked up from his station, his eyes blazing with a fierce determination. "We're with you, Captain," he said, his voice echoing the sentiment of the entire crew. "To the end." Arya felt a surge of pride and gratitude wash over her. These were her people, her family, and she knew that together they could face anything the universe threw at them. But even as they set their course for the Auriga system, Arya couldn't shake the feeling that their troubles were far from over. The Galactic Federation's reach was long, and they had made powerful enemies in their fight for freedom. As if in answer to her thoughts, the ship's sensors suddenly blared to life, warning of an incoming transmission. Arya's heart raced as she hurried to the communications console, her fingers flying over the controls. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a face that Arya had hoped never to see again. Admiral Zayden, the ruthless commander of the Galactic Federation's forces, stared back at her with cold, calculating eyes. "Captain Arya," he said, his voice dripping with condescension, "you have caused quite a bit of trouble for the Federation, but your little rebellion ends now." Arya's jaw clenched with defiance. "We will never surrender to you," she spat, her voice filled with venom. "We will fight for our freedom until our last breath." Admiral Zayden's lips curled into a cruel smile. "I was hoping you would say that," he said, his voice filled with a perverse pleasure. "You see, I have something that might change your mind." The view screen shifted, revealing a sight that made Arya's blood run cold. There, kneeling on the deck of Admiral Zayden's ship, was Riker, beaten and bruised, but still alive. Arya felt a wave of conflicting emotions wash over her. Relief that Riker was alive, mingled with horror at the thought of what the Federation might do to him. "Surrender now," Admiral Zayden said, his voice filled with smug satisfaction. "Or watch as your friend suffers the consequences." Arya's mind raced, searching for a way out of this impossible situation. She knew that surrendering to the Federation was not an option, but she couldn't bear the thought of abandoning Riker to his fate. She looked around at her crew, seeing the same determination and resolve in their eyes that she felt in her own heart. They had come too far to give up now, no matter the cost. Arya turned back to the view screen, her voice steady and unyielding. "We will never surrender," she said, each word filled with conviction. "And we will find a way to save our friend, no matter what it takes." Admiral Zayden's face twisted with rage, but Arya cut the transmission before he could reply. She turned to her crew, her eyes blazing with a fierce determination. "We have work to do," she said, her voice filled with a steely resolve. "Let's get this ship repaired and come up with a plan to rescue Riker and take the fight to the Federation." As the crew set to work, Arya felt a renewed sense of purpose filling her heart. The road ahead was uncertain, and the price of freedom would be high. But with her crew by her side, she knew that they could face anything the universe threw at them. They were the Starbound Renegades, and they would never stop fighting for what was right, no matter the odds. For in the end, it was the only way to ensure a brighter tomorrow for all who called the stars their home. Chapter 11. Whispers in the Dark. The Unity limped through the Auriga system, its battered hull a testament to the sacrifices made and the battles fought. In the dimly lit corridors, the crew worked tirelessly to repair the damage, their faces etched with determination and the weight of their mission. Arya stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the view screen as she scanned the system for any sign of the Galactic Federation. The rescue of Riker weighed heavily on her mind, a constant reminder of the price they had paid for their defiance. As she pondered their next move, a sudden flicker on the view screen caught her attention. A small, unassuming asteroid drifted into view, its surface pockmarked with craters and jagged fissures. "Zara, scan that asteroid," Arya ordered, her instincts telling her that there was more to this unassuming rock than met the eye. Zara's fingers danced across the console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Captain, I'm picking up some strange readings from the asteroid. It's emitting a low-level energy signature, unlike anything I've ever seen before." Arya's heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "Bring us in closer," she said, her voice steady despite the uncertainty that gnawed at her. "I want to know what we're dealing with." As the Unity approached the asteroid, the view screen suddenly flickered to life, revealing a hooded figure shrouded in shadow. "Captain Arya," the figure said, its voice distorted and otherworldly. "I have been waiting for you." Arya's eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Who are you?" she demanded, her hand instinctively reaching for her sidearm. The figure chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down Arya's spine. "I am a friend," it said, its voice filled with a quiet intensity. "And I have information that could help you rescue your captured crew member and strike a blow against the Galactic Federation." Arya's heart leapt with hope, but she forced herself to remain cautious. "What's the catch?" she asked, her voice filled with skepticism. The figure leaned forward, its face still hidden in shadow. "Meet me on the asteroid's surface," it said, its voice filled with a quiet urgency. "Come alone, and I will tell you everything you need to know." With that, the transmission cut out, leaving Arya and her crew in a state of stunned silence. Zephyr was the first to speak, his voice filled with concern. "Captain, this could be a trap. We can't trust this stranger." Arya nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "I know," she said, her voice filled with a quiet determination. "But we don't have a choice. If there's even a chance that this information could help us save Riker and take down the Federation, we have to take it." She turned to face her crew, her eyes blazing with a fierce resolve. "Zara, you have the bridge. Maintain a safe distance from the asteroid and keep a close eye on the sensors. If anything seems off, don't hesitate to take action." Zara nodded, her face etched with concern, but her voice steady. "Aye, Captain. Be careful out there." Arya gave her a tight smile before turning and striding off the bridge, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation. As she made her way to the shuttle bay, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into the unknown, a darkness that threatened to swallow her whole. But she pushed those fears aside, focusing instead on the mission at hand. Riker's life hung in the balance, and the fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Arya knew that she and her crew would face them head-on, united in their determination to forge a path to a brighter future. As the shuttle descended towards the asteroid's surface, Arya steeled herself for whatever lay ahead. The Starbound Renegades had come too far to turn back now, and she would stop at nothing to ensure that their sacrifices had not been in vain. Chapter 12. Shadows and Secrets. As the shuttle touched down on the asteroid's surface, Arya felt a sense of unease wash over her. The barren landscape stretched out before her, a sea of jagged rocks and deep craters that seemed to swallow the light. She stepped out of the shuttle, her hand resting on the hilt of her blaster, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The hooded figure emerged from the shadows, its movements fluid and graceful, almost otherworldly. Arya tensed, her grip tightening on her weapon as the figure approached. "I'm here," Arya called out, her voice echoing in the eerie stillness. "Now, tell me what you know." The figure lowered its hood, revealing a face that was both beautiful and terrifying. Its skin was a pale, iridescent blue, and its eyes glowed with an inner light that seemed to pierce Arya's very soul. "Captain Arya," the figure said, its voice soft and melodic. "I am Lyra, a member of a secret society that has watched the Galactic Federation's tyranny for far too long." Arya's eyes widened in surprise, but she kept her composure. "Why come to us?" she asked, her voice filled with suspicion. Lyra's gaze never wavered. "Because you and your crew have shown that you are willing to fight for what is right, no matter the cost. We believe that you are the key to bringing down the Federation and restoring balance to the galaxy." Arya's heart raced with excitement, but she forced herself to remain cautious. "And what do you want in return?" she asked, her voice filled with skepticism. Lyra smiled, a gesture that was both beautiful and unsettling. "We want the same thing you do, Captain, freedom and justice for all. But to achieve that, we must work together." She reached into her cloak and pulled out a small, crystalline device. "This contains the location of a secret Federation facility where your crew member is being held. It also holds the key to unlocking a powerful weapon that could turn the tide of the war." Arya's eyes widened in surprise, her mind racing with possibilities. "Why should I trust you?" she asked, her voice filled with doubt. Lyra's gaze never wavered. "Because, Captain, you have no other choice. The Federation's grip on the galaxy is tightening, and time is running out. If you want to save your friend and bring down the tyranny, you must act now." Arya hesitated for a moment, her instincts warring with her desire to save Riker and strike a blow against the Federation. Finally, she reached out and took the device, her fingers closing around the cool, smooth surface. "I'll do it," she said, her voice filled with determination. "But if you betray us, there will be nowhere in the galaxy you can hide." Lyra smiled, a gesture that was both beautiful and chilling. "I would expect nothing less from the Starbound Renegades. Good luck, Captain. The fate of the galaxy rests in your hands." With that, she turned disappeared into the shadows, leaving Arya alone on the barren asteroid. Arya stared down at the device in her hand, her mind racing with possibilities and dangers. She knew that she was taking a risk, but she also knew that she had no other choice. As she made her way back to the shuttle, Arya's resolve hardened. She would rescue Riker, and she would bring down the Federation, no matter the cost. The Starbound Renegades had come too far to turn back now, and they would stop at nothing to ensure that the galaxy was free from tyranny and oppression. The shuttle lifted off from the asteroid's surface, carrying Arya back to the Unity and the challenges that lay ahead. But as she looked out at the stars, she felt a sense of hope and determination that she had never known before. The Starbound Renegades were united in their cause, and together they would forge a new future for the galaxy, one marked by freedom, justice, and the unbreakable bonds of friendship.